For years and historically, the pharmacist, when they measure most credible professions in our economy, always ranks in the top 5 of any profession. I think the value that EQUIPP can bring and some of these rating scores that they can bring is if they can tie in measurable ways to practice pharmacy in a healthy way that's good for the patient. We want to use technology in an efficient way, but never lose sight of the reason why we want to be here, which is the art of practicing pharmacy.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Quality Solutions Quality Corner Show. Buckle up and put your thinking cap on. The Quality Corner Show starts now. Hello, Quality Corner Show listeners. Welcome to the PQS podcast, where we are focused on medication use, quality improvement, and how we can utilize pharmacists to improve patient health outcomes. I'm your host, Brittany Boyd, Senior Manager of Pharmacy Training and Support at PQS by Innovacer. Today, we have a special podcast/interview with one of our EQUIPP users. Today, we welcome Ashley Kunkle, Lori McLean, and Tommy Sharpe of USaveIt, a group of pharmacies out of the state of Georgia. So Ashley, Lori, Tommy, we welcome you to the show. Thank you for having the chance to join us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes. So as you know, we typically like to hear advice from our pharmacists, end users, and other stores that, supporting their business and clinical experiences while utilizing EQUIPP. So today we're hoping to hear from you and how USaveIt has played, or how EQUIPP has played a part for USaveIt pharmacies, and hoping you share some experiences and understand how others can help with their utilization and expand enhanced services outcomes. But before we get started, I would love for each of you, if you don't mind, to give me your name, how you work with USaveIt, and then Tommy, would love to hear from you about your pharmacy's history.
Okay. My name is Tommy Sharpe. I am the CEO of Crowe's Management, and Crowe's Management is a company that we own, my family owns, that helps manage the pharmacies that we have interest in. We currently have 46 pharmacies that we manage, and the common denominator is that someone in my family is an owner in the pharmacy, whether it's my dad or my brother Robert and I. We started with USaveIt Pharmacy in 1978. My father was a pharmacist working at Revco from his hometown of Dublin, Georgia, and my grandfather on my mother's side was a postman. And the owner of USaveIt Pharmacy was on his route. And one day they were talking, and he talked about how he would love to sell his pharmacy if he could find somebody to buy it. And so my grandfather said, well, my son-in-law is a pharmacist, and he's been saying he's wanted to own his own pharmacy for a while. And so my grandfather put them in touch together, and they worked out a deal. And my dad got to buy a store, and my grandfather got to get his daughter back in town. So I think everybody won and was happy. And so we started with USaveIt Pharmacy. It was a traditional pharmacy that was located in your downtown commercial district. And it started with that, just your old timey pharmacy. And for 10 years, my father owned that store. And then he ended up buying Crowe's Pharmacy, which specialized in nursing homes and long-term care, and owned that pharmacy as well. And as time went on, he went from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and started growing, and befriended some fellow pharmacists out of Alabama, Danny Cottrell and Lyndon Scott, Mike Strickland, Patrick Worcester. And they started the pharmacy investment coordinators, which they started buying stores together. And that's how the Buy-Rite brand came about. So Crowe's manages the USaveIt Pharmacy brand and the Buy-Rite brand, but the USaveIt is the Sharpe family side of the business. And as we grew, we realized we needed a neutral accounting company to handle payroll, human resources, accounting, and that's how Crowe's came about. And as time came on, we realized that managing patients' profiles or adherence scores, we needed to become more organized and create a game plan on how to effectively implement that strategy over all of our companies. So we started an operations department in Crowe's, and Ashley and Lori have come to that department. And they've organized it and designed it, and they're a big part of why we feel like we can do what we do when it comes to managing our patients' adherence scores, giving the best service we can to our patients, and implementing our operations team for pharmacy operations over our organization.
Thank you, Tommy. That is such a fantastic story. I don't think I ever knew that history either. But that is amazing. I'd love to see where you guys have branched that to today. So Ashley and then Lori, if you guys don't mind just speaking on your experience and what it's been like for you all working with Crowe's and the Buy-Rite and the You Save It groups, and what you guys do to, operationalize the pharmacy and how you guys keep it so efficient.
Okay. I'm Ashley Kunkle, and I'm the director of our pharmacy operations team here at Crowe's. So I started as a pharmacist. I was a floater pharmacist in the Albany area. And then we opened a store from the ground up, and I was there for 8 years and really learned, how to build our customer base. That store serviced a part of the community that had a high poverty rate, or still has a high poverty rate, and we realized how much our patients utilized us as pharmacists because we are so accessible. I started taking blood pressures. We were one of the first stores in the area to administer immunizations. And then when adherence rolled out and the adherence measures, the star ratings, Medicare Part D and everything, we started doing taking part in that at that store. So as the industry got more kind of streamlined with adherence and enhanced services, and plans became more involved with kind of recognizing how those services really do help their patients and help them to stay healthier, to stay out of the hospital, to prevent kind of, medical events that may be very costly. More plans got on board with that. And so platforms like PQS came about, and then the plans, or we realized that we could really help the plans by digging in and figuring out how each of these plans measured adherence. So we really started with Humana. Once I came into Crowe's, we quickly realized that if we were going to support all of our pharmacies, we needed to invest in more people to help with that support. So we ended up bringing Lori in. We have a couple of other people here at the office who help with that. We started with the Humana program because we had a lot of patients on Humana, and we realized that if we could keep these patients adherent with their medications, just in the 3 measurement categories, that we could see a difference. We keep these patients compliant, and we also saw that we were able to get DIR fees back. So this was not only something we were already doing for our patients, and this is a service we were already providing. We were already syncing these patients. We were already making sure, explaining to them why it was so important to take their medications, explaining to them what could potentially happen if they didn't take their medications. And then so we realized that we could get those DIR fees back, and that way it would help us to invest more in the operations team. So we realized with our contracts, Lori specializes in our contracts. And so she really looked at those, and with each contract to define where we could focus on adherence and enhanced services with each plan. And then she kind of set up a streamlined system where we communicate with our stores each day to tell them which patients need their medicine each day, so that they know who to contact, which patients to contact at the store level.
Yes, and Ashley pretty much gave my introduction. But I also, when I first started with you, say that I worked at that same store that Ashley was talking about. And then I worked there for several years, and Ashley would come into the store as she had moved to the management office, and I was the pharmacist in charge there. So, you know, she would come into the store and make sure we were looking on EQUIPP and make sure we were, you know, doing everything we could to help these patients. And so that store, you know, we really focused on it, on adherence and as much as we could. And those were some of the most, those patients, in order to get them to be adherent, it was really challenging, just because it's a very underserved population. But we were able to get them adherent. And then shortly after that, they moved me to the corporate office. And that was my pretty much sole job, is to really focus on adherence. Like Ashley was saying, we worked on the Humana program the first year I came. And then we realized, oh, well, maybe we need to dive deeper down into our contracts to see if there's other PBMs out there that have programs like this. So I was on EQUIPP or in PQS every day to try to, you know, figure out where there were holes that we could fill. So that's when I started doing contracting, because we were really, you know, I needed to really look into the contracts to see what all was out there. So that's pretty much what I do now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So thank you both for that descriptive, you know, in detail of what you guys are currently doing and the shift from being in the store to working more on the operations side. But you guys led into quite a bit of what I wanted to kind of understand what the benefits are of utilizing EQUIPP. So you guys have already spoke on a number of those items. So from a health plan contracting perspective, wanting to know, you know, what you're contracted for, but what's out there, what are you expected to maintain and do well on, and being able to see that information in EQUIPP. Ashley, you spoke great detail about the Humana program and knowing that you have a large patient volume there, but knowing that if you perform at a certain level, you are able to earn certain dollars back. And so that is fantastic that you've been able to not only have some action behind that, but also have a resource like EQUIPP to be able to utilize and actually work through that information. So, Lori, I want to ask you, because I know that you were, you know, speaking primarily on really focusing on, you know, adherence and the measures that are implicated there. How would you say you all would, how often would you guys log into EQUIPP, and how often were you utilizing it? And were there any kind of core, like key actions that helped you all succeed in knowing, hey, this patient needs this at this time? And especially speaking from, you know, working with a population that is pretty impoverished, as you mentioned, you know, how did you guys make it actionable while utilizing EQUIPP and helping your patients drive to success?
Yes, so we are, we're a management office. So we have myself, Ashley, and then we have 3 technicians and another pharmacist here as well. So basically the way we started handling this is we log into EQUIPP every day. And we're doing that. We're focusing on 46 stores. So with Humana, they have weekly outlier updates. And that is super helpful because we're able to see who's kind of falling behind quicker than monthly updates. So basically what we do is we get the information off of EQUIPP and see what prescriptions need to be filled and what patients need to be counseled. And we send that information to our pharmacist in the store. And then that way, those patients are able to, or the pharmacists are able to focus on those patients that week. And that way they don't fall behind on getting their medications. And then they can also see, okay, well, these patients are trending, they're falling behind weekly. We need to intervene and make sure we re-counsel on the importance of taking their diabetes medication or their blood pressure medication. So that's mainly what we're doing here is we are giving the information to our pharmacists, and it's basically like they could get on EQUIPP and do the same thing because the platform is so like user friendly and they're able to do that. But we're here to monitor to make sure that they are doing that. And then also, you know, you guys are always updating or giving us more information or, you know, different opportunities. So we want to make sure we're looking out for that so that we can communicate that to our pharmacists that are in the store.
Thank you so much for that, Lori. It was a great description there. And you, again, touched on quite a few things there, right? The time saving piece of knowing that, you know, you have more frequent updates in one place so then you can spend your time and focus efforts there rather with the monthly updates that will come. And then you're, you know, putting forth that effort and time to send that information back to the stores and allowing them, you know, that time to have that patient engagement and work with them. Work with their patients there, but you're able to give the directive based on the information that you access through EQUIPP. Now, that's actually a really great segue into our next kind of part of the podcast, the interview here we would like to discuss, which is going to be about enhanced services. So understanding that enhanced services opportunities are available in EQUIPP, again, weekly. We have our longitudinal adherence monitoring program, our blood pressure and A1C. Those are programs that you all are participating in currently, and that you also participated in Q4 of 2023 when they came in. And so I know, Lori, you spoke on being able to deliver the information back to the stores with the enhanced services. Some of those actions have to be done in the store and have to then, you know, be documented in EQUIPP. But I know that you all are working with the stores very closely for that. So Ashley or Lori, are there any specific tips that drive success in these programs and being able to have the pharmacies and the staff kind of join together to document when they are engaging and trying to help those patients close those gaps in care as it relates to the enhanced services program being EQUIPP?
I think that just, you know, we're able to kind of, like Lori said, we're able to kind of oversee that here, so we can remind our pharmacists, like, hey, you need to contact this patient about their A1C. We need to either check their A1C or we need to find out when their last A1C was. And then that gives the in-store pharmacist the opportunity to be sure that they are on top of that, and they have a note to, if they need to call that patient, or if they can't get in touch with them, make a note next time the patient comes in, or if they deliver to that patient, they make a note with the delivery driver to, hey, when you get to this patient's house, call me. I need to talk to them about, you know, whether it's A1C, blood pressure, you know, being compliant on their medication or whatever the issue is. We have, you know, we really try to make sure that we make every effort to contact them. Sometimes that even involves the doctor's office, you know, calling the doctor's office, hey, next time they're there, we really need to make sure they get A1C, or we need them to, you know, in kind of explaining to the provider what we're doing and how we're helping. And that, you know, just helps the patient more, really, because they know that they have more healthcare providers taking care of them.
That's helpful. That's amazing. Thank you. So Tommy, I know that Ashley and Lori are primarily working in the stores and are close there, but I believe that this could be a good question for you to answer, just working on the business operations and knowing, you know, how many stores that you all have been able to branch and expand to, you know, just over the years, but knowing that health plans and payers are ultimately supporting us in being able to offer these enhanced services programming. Would you like to see more health plans coming in and delivering that back to the pharmacies and giving that up as an offering. Ultimately, not only would that impact, could that impact your patient population, but help your stores, continue to prosper. So is that something that you think could be helpful?
I think it could. I think for years and historically, the pharmacists, when they measure most credible professions in our economy, always ranks in the top 5 of any profession. I think the value that EQUIPP can bring and some of these rating scores that they can bring is if they can tie in measurable ways to practice pharmacy in a healthy way that's good for the patient. We want to use technology in an efficient way, but never lose sight of the reason why we want to be here, which is the art of practicing pharmacy. We as an organization believe in the value of our pharmacists. We're not going to be a good organization if we don't have good pharmacists. And so we want to do everything we can from a corporate standpoint to empower our pharmacists to focus on our patients. And if that means we can use organizations such as EQUIPP to help gather the right information to make good decisions and to build our patients' trust by consistently applying our practice in a way that is best for the patient, we feel like that's a good direction for pharmacy to go in. Our pharmacists need to be accessible to our patients, and they need to have access to the best information to make good decisions that will lead to better healthcare outcomes. And I think if we can do that as an industry, I think our profession will be one that is highly respected and highly valued.
That's fantastic, Tommy. Thank you for that. So again, it's great to hear that EQUIPP has been such a valuable resource for you all and how you all are communicating back to your staff, to your point, Tommy, how you are, understanding how to empower your pharmacies. And so I want to hear from each of you, if you can, giving some advice to our other end users and other pharmacy clients that are out there, as it may relate to quality improvement or just, improving medication use, increasing the efficiency of EQUIPP. What are kind of some key tips that are like, what, I didn't know this before, but I know this now, and I know that this helps us tremendously. So if each one of you could maybe take about a minute and just provide some key feedback, if you don't mind, I think that'd be helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, I can start. So when I first started with working on EQUIPP, I was in the store, and yes, not every pharmacy out there has a full management team to help point those things out. But what I've learned with EQUIPP, like I was touching on earlier, you guys are constantly offering like resources to help you understand like how adherence is measured and how the program works. And the webinars are great. All the resource page is fantastic. So my advice would definitely be use what you're given and, take the time to sit and read and try to really understand how these plans are measuring you for adherence. And then also, as far as a pharmacy standpoint, you want to focus on the plans that you have a lot of patients in. And so that's what we do. Our 2 or 3 biggest payers, we really focus on them to make sure those patients stay adherent. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I would encourage, I talk to, when we go to different pharmacy conferences, I talk to a lot of pharmacists that say, I just don't have time to do that. I'm too busy and all these things. And I completely understand it's very busy, but we were doing this before we, we brought in myself and Lori to the office. Like, we saw the importance of it while we were in the store. So, I think that I would encourage other pharmacists to, like say, take the time to really dive into those resources that y'all put out, because you can learn a lot about not only what plans will reimburse you for the services. Most of the time you're already doing. And if you can really just kind of refine your process so that you make sure no patients are left without their medicine, that those few days that they may not be compliant, really make the difference with these plans. So really just kind of find a way to be organized with that process, and EQUIPP, really gives you the tools to do that. But not only that, just really looking at those resources and understanding how you're being reimbursed by each plan. And I think that once you learn all that information, then you will appreciate the value PQS offers with making sure that we can get reimbursement for everything that we're able to.
Yes, and just from an organizational standpoint, what we've realized is when we've embraced technologies such as EQUIPP, it's helped us learn our patients. It's helped us manage our inventory more effectively. It's just been an effective tool for our pharmacists to stay on top of where we need to be as a pharmacy, and it's been very effective in just improving the overall patient care that we've given as an organization.
That's great. We appreciate that. Thank you. Ashley, Tommy, Lori, it has been really great to hang with you guys today and just chat through how EQUIPP has helped you all. Thank you for your authentic feedback about how you've been able to operationalize the platform, but also just driving into those really key details of how successful it's made you. So I have two things before we go, and I'll let Lori, I'll ask you to take the first one. I'll leave the second one for Tommy. But Lori, if you had one thing to tell a health plan, I know Tommy gave his feedback already about how great it is to have that interconnectivity between the health plans and the pharmacies and getting that back. But if you had one thing you could tell a health plan about enhanced services or about EQUIPP and how much it's helped you or what's been successful for you or what you want them to know, would love to hear that from you. And then Tommy, you gave us a really great history about Crowe's management and Buy-Rite and You Save It. But I would like to hear a fun fact from you that we maybe did not get in that history. So I'll let you think on that one while Lori wraps us up here and answers that last question for us.
I think what I would really like to tell any of the health plans is, and I know reimbursement, it looks a lot different for 2024. It's going to look a lot different for 2025. But pharmacies, and I know particularly pharmacies in low-income rural areas, like our stores are in, we are making a huge difference in the patients' lives. Like they're coming to us to, evaluate their Medicare plan. They're coming to us to ask for, to check their A1C. They're coming to us to check their blood pressure. So if there were more plans that were willing to participate and pay us for these services, it's something that we're already doing. So, and we're going to continue to do it because we care for our patients, and that's the most important thing. But if more plans were able to pay us for those services, more opportunities, it's something like we're prepared to do. Like we're going to make sure it gets done. Because like what Tommy, we've developed this team to help our stores succeed and to help our patients stay as healthy as possible. So I think that's what I would just basically ask for: more programs, give us more work to do, because we're prepared to do it. So,
fun fact, it's so many fun facts. When my father first got into pharmacy, it was, you had a typewriter and there was no insurance, basically. You had a little bit of state Medicaid. And so we've seen our industry evolve from that point to the point where we have an operations team that's talking to a technology company, and we're all figuring out ways that we can coordinate together to give the best patient care. So I think seeing us get to that point of from just the old time mom and pop independent pharmacy has been a fun transition. Payment is important. Incentives to give good service and good patient care, I think is a good thing. When I was in middle school, one of the first jobs I had was being assistant to one of our delivery drivers. We deliver medication for free, and there was a high school, college guy who was driving the truck, and he would drive up and say, "Well, this patient, she's important. Let me make sure I get her patient medication right." And he'd deliver it, and I'd see him walk back to the truck and put what looked to be like $1 or $2 in his pocket, and then I'd go the next route and say, "Well, you do this one. You can handle this one. Go get." So I noticed that there was no dollar I was putting in my pocket afterwards. And then after about the 5th time of seeing that, my dad said, "Well, did you learn anything?" I said, "Yeah, Stephen let me take the packages to the ones that people didn't tip, and he made sure he took care of the ones where people did." So I think it's a kind of a funny story. He knew his patient, but he knew his patients because that little financial incentive that wasn't big was a motivator.
Absolutely.
We have a very, very competitive market right now, and it's difficult. I think everyone in our industry knows it's difficult to survive. So whatever, if this is how the PBMs value us by giving better patient care, I think tying in some form of financial incentive is important, because all of these services that we've invested heavily in aren't free. We've made a significant financial investment to this, and it works. It gives better patient care. We're seeing our patients outperform in certain demographics that traditionally have underperformed. So I think it's worth the investment. The goal is to prolong lives and for people to have a good quality of life with that prolonged life. So the financial incentives are a good thing. They need to be reasonable and fair. But our industry, we are suffering right now from very competitive reimbursements, and I think for us to survive, we do need to have programs that help pay for us and reward pharmacies for being good pharmacies.
That's fantastic, Tommy. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Ashley. Really appreciate you all joining us today. That was actually a really fantastic story too, Tommy. That was good. Thank you for that fun fact. All right. So with that, we have wrapped up this episode of the Quality Corner Show. Would like to thank Ashley, Lori, and Tommy from Crowe's Management with Buy-Rite and You Save It Pharmacies in Georgia and Alabama for joining us today. We thank you, audience, for listening. I hope you listen to the next episode of the show. But before we go, we have one final message from PQS. The Pharmacy Quality Solutions Quality Corner Show has a request for you. Our goal is to spread the word about how quality measurement can help improve health outcomes, and we need your help in sharing this podcast to friends and colleagues in the healthcare industry. We also want you to provide feedback, ask us questions, and suggest health topics you'd like to see covered. If you are a health expert and you want to contribute to the show or even talk on the show, please contact us. You can email info@pharmacyquality.com. Let us know what is on your mind, what we can address, so that you are fully informed. We want you to be able to provide the best care for your patients and members, and we wish all of you listeners out there well.